What's going on, guys? Welcome back to this week's episode of Outside the Arena with Rob and Griff. I'm Griffin Senek, joined by my co-host, Rob Goldberger. And what a week it has been in the baseball world. We said we were going to put out a midweek episode. I was a little sick throughout the week, so we were unable to do that. But we're here today, and I mean, the winter meetings, man. I mean, we hadn't had them, I think, since 2019, and wow, I
Yeah,
mean, they did not disappoint and absolutely I mean, the free agent market, like we're going to predict a few guys, but there's like almost no one left now. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like all these guys have signed. So we're going to break it down, and obviously we'll talk some NFL too, but we are going to start out with some MLB. I got my baseball polo on right now. But yeah, we're going to start off with the top three player in baseball, I think pretty unquestionably at this point. Aaron Judge re-signs with the New York Yankees, 9 years, $360 million, likely going to be the next captain of the Yankees. You know, there were some questions. I really thought the day before this signing happened, it seemed like the way the media was talking that Judge was going to end up being on the Giants or one of those teams. You saw the Padres come in with a late offer, but ultimately Aaron Judge wanted to be in New York, was using everyone else essentially for leverage, and good for him. I mean, he got absolutely the most money out of this situation, got where he wanted to be. I'll start with you, Rob. Obviously, for the Yankees, they had to do this if they lost him. I mean, it was hard to fathom. I think we both agreed that Judge would likely be a Yankee.
yeah.
But the way it started to trend, I mean, there were times where I started to doubt that, but ultimately, Judge will be a Yankee for life. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously John Heyman jumped the gun a little bit. I think I was a little surprised to see he was going to San Francisco, but like you said, I just think like it was. You can't really picture the Yankees without Aaron Judge, and you can't picture what Yankees fans more importantly would be doing without Aaron Judge. I mean, I think they're ready to burn the whole place down, even when there were just rumors swirling. But look, like you said, Aaron Judge made himself $144 million this past season, which is just called betting in yourself and winning. It doesn't always work out like that, but he did it, and it was impressive. But I think obviously we found out that the San Diego Padres were a late player. They ended up getting their guy in the end, but obviously superstars, sort of California tax system, I think definitely factored into that. But like you said, I think as soon as the Yankees were ready to bump up to that 9 years, or at least that's what the reporting is, that when Hal Steinbrenner heard that Judge just wanted that extra ninth year to get him to the 360 million, I think that was always going to happen. I think 40 million for the Yankees might honestly be a cheap cost to keep him around compared to the alternative.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Judge makes that franchise so much money at the end of the day. You couldn't picture him not being a Yankee. It's just one of those guys that's like he was always going to stay there. It seemed like, you feel a little bit for Giants fans. Like this
Yeah.
team came in trying to spend, and at this point, there are some stars. You got Correa still out there. They could reunite with Rodon, but they haven't probably had the flashy signing. I think that fan base was looking for, which is not always the worst thing. You're going to have always more options next offseason and beyond. But yeah, I mean, good for the Yankees. They got their guy. They've had they haven't really added yet. I do think they're in on Rodon. You heard rumblings yesterday from like Buster Olney or John Heyman, maybe a little bit of Carlos Correa, maybe them talking to him. So we'll see what's next for the
Yeah.
Yankees. Yeah, we'll see what's next.
And yeah, it's just you can't. Pretty unbelievable. Sorry that we're in a situation where ourselves wanting Carlos Correa here.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy how far that whole situation has come. But at this point, obviously, Yankees fans they want the best team possible on the field. So yeah, they do need to improve though. Like this team, the way it was last year was not good enough, and they know that. But they've done a good job. They re-signed Rizzo, they re-signed Judge, they bring back Tommy Kaline. So we'll see what's next with the Yankees. I think Carlos Rodon would be very interesting. That would make their rotation
Yeah, I
very
think
very solid with
I believe
Cole, Cortez.
I believe Jack Curry reported. I think I saw on Twitter that they are pursuing Rodon. Like that's, I think that is one of their top targets, Carlos Rodon, for the New
Yeah,
York
they've been
Yankees.
really,
Yeah, sorry,
really,
I was just saying. Like I think. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good. All right, let me pause this real quick. Definitely going to be interesting to see what happens with the Yankees. Carlos Rodon, Carlos Correa. I think one of those guys would absolutely be big for them. They definitely are in the market to upgrade somewhere. So we'll see what the Yankees do. Always going to be in the news. Moving on to the other New York team, my New York Mets. A very eventful week for the Mets with Steve Cohen flexing his wallet. And the Mets payroll at this point is out of control. I mean, they're pushing 330, like 400 with the tax. This week they re-signed Brandon Nimmo, 8 years, 162 million. They signed Justin Verlander to replace Jacob deGrom, 2-year, $86 million deals. They trade for Brooks Raleigh. They signed David Robertson. They signed Jose Quintana. And they're still linked to a guy like a Kodai Senga. You hear Andy Martino saying Shohei is going to be in play for them next winter. I mean, it's crazy times. I mean, you never want to doubt Steve Cohen. But at some point, you're like, oh, they're not going to spend any more money. And it just feels like at this point, Rob, that there's no limit with this team with the budget right now. And, the Mets, they had a lot of question marks. I mean, this offseason, they came in with Diaz, Nimmo, deGrom, all their rotation really being free agents. And at this point, I mean, I would argue that at this point in free agency and the offseason, this team is probably at a similar level to the team they were last year. That was a 101 win team. So considering where they were, last year, the free agents they had, your thoughts on the week for the Mets and their current state of this team?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're going to be able to be spending this much money, you're going to be able to put a very, very good team on the field. I mean, that's just the trick case. I mean, I know they did choke in the playoffs last year, the New York Mets, but obviously, I think they'll probably still be a very good to dominant regular season team. Verlander, Scherzer, Quintana is just an absolutely ridiculous top three of the rotation. I mean, it really is just an absolute. Jose Quintana had a Sorry, I was about to say fantabulous, Jesus, but a fantastic. A fantastic playoff start last year against the Philadelphia Phillies, actually, before he was pulled very early. I mean, I still question that decision. But look, giving 40-year-old Justin Verlander $43 million a year is a lot, especially considering when you're paying another 40-year-old $40 million. But like you said, it doesn't matter to Steve Cohen. His pockets are so deep. It really doesn't matter. It's not your money, Griff, as a Mets fan. I'm sure you don't care. I mean, look. Look, I mean, as long Steve, like you said, Steve Cohen's pockets seem at the current moment endless, and like you said, if this is the case, I mean, there's really no. I mean, I'm not going to criticize the Mets for spending money. I'm not, like this team is obvious, but with that obviously comes very high expectations, and if they flame out next year, I think, I think the lot like. I think obviously, I think the pitching staff is a guarantee. I think a little questions have to be asked, like obviously getting Nimmo back was huge. I think you see a lot of sorry, I don't mean to criticize some people, but I think you see a lot of these baseball casuals who come out of the woodwork sometimes in the off season that are don't know what they're talking about. 8,162 is fair value for Brandon Nimmo. Even team, I think it even argues that with you can make an argument that it's actually really good value for the Mets, to be honest. But I don't know, I don't get it. I think you see a lot of people criticizing the length of that deal, which I don't really understand. But I think the Mets have had a fantastic offseason, and like you said, I think whenever you're going to be willing to spend that much money, you're in good shape. I think Justin Verlander's playoff performances were a little questionable last year. I think even in his one start in Philadelphia, he really, I think he issued 5 walks through 4 innings or something like that. So I think that'll be something to keep an eye on. But the guy arguably just had his best career season at age 39, so I'm really not too concerned about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, the Brandon Nimmo, the Mets at that point, it's kind of, we'll talk about the Phillies next, but these deals where you extend the years to lower the AAV, that's just that's the contracts where you look back and you look 3-4 years in, and it's that's a fantastic deal.
Yeah, yeah.
The Mets needed Nimmo. The way the center field market was, the next best option would be Kevin Kiermaier, and that just wouldn't have been. Maybe they could have traded for Brian Reynolds, but that would have cost them all these guys in the farm system, which is not what they're trying to do. So paying $20 million a year for Brandon Nimmo, a guy who fits in perfectly at the top of the lineup, gets on base, has improved tremendously defensively in center field, fan favorite, the club, really good clubhouse guy. There's nothing about this deal that I'm upset about. And the way the Mets have handled business, like you said, they're just signing guys that, they're making smart deals. I mean, the Jose Quintana deal. I mean,
I
after
love it.
what Taiwan Walker and Jamison Tyone got, I mean, 2 for 26 for a guy who, was pretty freaking good last year is an incredible deal. And I'm not expecting him to, post a sub 3 ERA these 2 years, but if this guy can be like a 3.5 ERA, and you know, I'm hoping they add a number 3 starter so Quintana can be the 4, but like him as a 4 starter is like perfect. And the bullpen looks good. I mean, they bring back Diaz, Robertson, Raleigh, and that road like Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer. They have, once again the Mets. They lose DeGrom, they bring in, the AL Cy Young Award winner, and to me, they still have the best 1-2 punch in baseball. I would argue. I think it's close with potentially your Philadelphia Phillies are right up there in the conversation and among some other teams potentially, but yeah, I mean, Verlander, Scherzer, these guys, say what you want about them. Obviously, the playoffs didn't go according to plan, but, the regular season, these guys were both like, Verlander had this crazy season, and Scherzer had like a 2.2 ERA or something like that. Like, they're both still at the top of their game. Um, I'm very happy with this offseason for the Mets. I do really think the cherry on top would be landing Senga, who they are just, it seems like they're just all in
Yeah.
on. I mean, I've heard a lot of stuff. At this point, honestly, like, I don't want to jinx it, but like, I feel like I feel like they're going to land them. Like, I feel like sounds like they really want him. And we've seen, like, when Steve Cohen really wants someone and really wants to pay them and get a deal done, like, it's going to happen. So, and I think, if he's okay being in New York, the Mets check off all the boxes he's looking for. So I think he would be kind of the perfect, 3-piece in that rotation for them. But yeah, I mean, the Mets, this offseason was, talk about at the beginning of the, right after the World Series, this was, future defining offseason for the Mets with the amount of free agents and guys they had. And now you can look at this team and you can see a little more, comfortability with the future. You got guys under contract. The rotations coming together, the bullpen's coming together. So I think the Mets and, real quick, and then we'll move on to your Phillies. The reason the Mets, obviously, people talk shit about, the Mets paying 2 40-year-olds $40 million and whatever. At the end of the day, these are like 2-year deals. So if they don't pan out, 2 years and it's over. And also, like, the Mets right now are trying to build up their farm system. They're trying to be like the Dodgers or one of these teams where they just have endless prospects coming in. And right now, their pitching depth in that farm system is not very good. So they've just been in a spot where they don't have the young guys to bring up right now to be in that rotation. They got to pay these guys to, get over that hump, give the farm system a few extra years, start developing more and more guys, and then eventually just kind of have that sustained success that they've been talking about and looking for. So I'm never going to complain with these deals because at the end of the day, as the Mets have proved this offseason, money right now is just never going to be an issue or something that stops them from doing anything. So it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to start rambling, but good offseason for the Mets. We'll see what they do. Obviously, it doesn't seem like they are done. But we'll move on to
Yeah,
the
no, I
Philadelphia
just sorry.
Phillies.
I just want to add to that. Like, if you think I'm gonna be like I am a delusional Philly sports fan a lot of the times. I understand, but like, I'm not gonna sit here and criticize Steve Cohen for spending like millions, or hundreds of millions. You know what my attitude towards like Major League Baseball is? Like, these, you spend to win. That's how you win. Like, and the truth of the matter is, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, Steve Cohen's pockets are very, very deep, and I respect the fact that he's a fan who wants to see his team do well. A lot of the owners could be doing the same exact thing that he is and are choosing not to. I want to make that very clear. It's not that they can't, it's that they are choosing not to.
Yeah, they're all billion-dollar owners, and they don't have to be spending at the level Cohen's spending at. I mean, this is like
Right.
unforeseen spending, and that's why I think also that stupid tax is so ridiculous because, criticizing the teams that want to spend compared to the teams that are putting out, 20-30 million-dollar payrolls. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's disgusting. But moving on to the Philadelphia Phillies, they had a great week as well. Trea Turner, I mean, I feel like this guy was a Philly the second that
Yeah.
the World Series ended. It
Yeah.
just seemed kind of foregone. Signs an 11-year, $300 million deal. Taiwan Walker, former New York Net, now a Philly, 4 years, $72 million. Pretty big deal for Ty
Yeah.
Walker, who has, was an all-star with the Mets, has had some very good starts. And then they signed Matt Strom for the bullpen, little lefty specialist. Your thoughts on the Phillies winter meetings week and, where you want them to go from here?
Look, I love Gene Segura. I really do. I appreciate all that he did in Philadelphia. He was an important playoff contributor. But like, look, like Trea Turner, shifting Bryson, being able to shift Bryson to second base in his natural position is going to be huge. It's going to just make him way more comfortable as a player. And I think, sorry, I'm just going to talk about Bryson Stott here. I didn't know that. I know you didn't see that going in that direction, but like, I think Bryson Stott can be a very, very, very good MLB player. His plate discipline truly was among the best in the playoffs, like on the eye test and statistically. I mean, like, I think it's going to be very important being able to shift into his natural position at second base. And look, like Trea Turner is just a guy that we've been missing for years. A guy that like he's a guy that in that World Series just would have made such a difference. A guy that like who's almost as immune to cold streaks as any player in baseball. He's obviously he goes on cold streaks. Every hitter does, but in terms of relatively, he really doesn't. I mean, look, I think that they just needed a guy who could just like make a ton of contact at the time of the starting lineup. And I get people are saying, oh, his chase rate and his speed, and then the look back bad at the end of the years. But like, Griff, you're making this point. Like, I don't care what it looks like at the age 40 season. We're like for the next like 3 years in the middle of their primes, you were paying Bryce and Trey combined 54 million. That is insane to me. That is, I love it. I mean, they literally just followed what they did with with Bryce a few years ago. And look, Dave Dombrowski has really turned this franchise around. And I'll be the first to admit, I really wasn't that happy when Dave Dombrowski was hired. I think I get a lot. I let a lot of sort of this like negative Phillies media talking about, oh, we need a young general manager. We need a complete restart. This guy's going to even further gut the farm system. But look, first off, we didn't have a farm system to gut when he got here, which I think may have been for the best. But like this is a guy like I was saying it, but like John Middleton to Griff, like we were texting, during the week, like John Middleton is spending money now. It's unbelievable to see. This is a guy that up until Bryce didn't spend money, and then these last two off seasons were the first time he's really, really spent ever. Like, and that's why last year's run was so important to just like prove that the city will show out for a successful Phillies team. They will, but like, you look, Trey. I'm so excited to have Trea Turner as a Philly. Like, this is a guy like. I kind of like everybody in Philly kind of suspected it even like midway through the year that obviously he wanted to be here. And look, the Padres came in with a last minute offer. He was never going to play on the West Coast. He was never staying on the West Coast. That wasn't going to happen. He wanted a place, close to his home in Florida where spring training was. He wanted spring training rather close to his home in Florida. Look, I'm just excited this guy's a Philly. I mean, he's 300 with 20 bombs like right off the bat. I mean, I really am. And look, when it comes to Ty Walker, would I have loved 236 or 354? Yes, I would have. At the end of the day, they really needed a 4. I mean, they really needed a 4. Like what they were throwing out there towards the end of the year was disgraceful. And by the way, Kyle Gibson got $10 million from the Royals. But okay, but
The starting pitching market is crazy.
yeah, dude, like that's my next point. I mean, look, they really needed to pay for a 4, and the hope is that Andrew Painter, who, Andrew Painter, I'm sure, but like Andrew Painter, who's going to be 20 years old by the time the opening, like my guess is he's going to start the season with the big league roster, Andrew Painter. And I think that there's a real chance that this guy is a solid number 5 starter by midway through the year. I mean, like he's the best pitching prospect in baseball. I mean, I'm excited. I really am. Cause I think if Ty Walker, he had obviously major struggles towards the end of the season last year, but hopefully, he can work some things out and keep that, first half of the season form going for, being consistent through an entire season. It is a lot of money, but like you said, I think the starting pitching market is absolutely out of control. And, getting 5 solid guys rather than relying on a bullpen game or Bailey Fulcher, Kyle Gibson every 5 days is going to be huge for the Phillies.
Yeah, I mean, look, like you said, like, yeah, Taiwan Walker for 4 years and 18 million AAV, like it's not what you want, but that's just kind of the market, and clearly they went and just said, let's get a deal done, let's get, this guy before, because the market has taken off. I mean, there's some guys left. I mean, I'd say there's like 4 or 5 quality starters, that maybe would kind of profile similar to him a little bit better, but yeah, I mean, the Trea Turner signing is going to be huge for them. I mean, this Phillies lineup is the best in baseball, top 3. I mean, at worst, like it's truly incredible the amount of stars they have. They got, obviously Trey, Bryce, Schwarber, JT Realmuto.
You gotta hope that
Uh,
Castellanos can even
yeah, I
be
mean,
half of the player that he will like. Well, like I do think that he got hurt at the end of May last year. Like, look at his and like he got hit by a pitch, and like look at his
pretty
numbers.
bad from the start, though. I
Look at
mean,
his
he didn't
numbers.
hit a home run from like,
He had no power last year. He lost
yeah,
all of his power last year.
yeah. Which might, I mean, that's what happens when you go from. I mean, Citizens Bank's a pretty hitter friendly, but Great American is also pretty kind to
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
hitters. So I don't know, but yeah, he would be if he could get it going, that'd be a huge wild card. But this Phillies team, the way they are, I mean, totally set. Having Trea Turner also, he's not the greatest defender in the world, but he's a pretty solid defender. So it provides
Yeah.
some defensive help as well for the Phillies. Like you said, Bryson Stott will be in his natural spot. So this NL East, man, it's gonna be really good. The Phillies are only getting better. The Mets are a 100-win team that I would say is at a similar level. They could be better. I mean, if you have a full year of Verlander and Scherzer, that's better than what they got last year out of DeGrom and Scherzer. So, you know, we'll see. Obviously, the Atlanta Braves always good, but they've kind of been this team, the Atlanta Braves, credit
Bill
to
with
them
my
because they have an unreal core, and they're just in a spot where they've locked all these guys up to criminal contracts, and they don't have to spend any money. And Vaughn Grissom will probably be the next Derek Jeter. So, we'll see what happens. I honestly don't think they'll re-sign Swanson at this point. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It feels like this team's just like
yeah.
they're just not going to spend the money, which is it makes the I just real quick, I've said this to Rob before, but just the whole Jacob deGrom to the Braves narrative that the Braves were going to shell out $40 million a year for a pitcher or for a player in general. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. I mean, this is a team that let their superstar first baseman that won the World Series walk, so they could lock up like a younger guy who was not as good. I mean, it's just like I don't know. That whole narrative was just like crazy to me. But yeah, NL East is going to be crazy. Honestly, like I mean, we're both biased, but the way this stacks up right now, like any of these three teams can win the
Yeah.
division like
Yeah.
easily, and they'll probably all. I mean, I'd be shocked if any of these teams are not in the playoffs next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I love. We're not going to be playing with a handicap for the first 60 games of the year, which is going to for the first 50 games of the year, rather, which is going to be nice. I mean, Joe Girardi is the handicap. I mean, yeah, but yeah.
Well, you won't have Bryce for the first,
No, I know,
60,
I know.
70,
I mean,
which will hurt.
it
But
is.
Trey
It
Turner
will.
definitely softens the blow a little bit to that lineup. All right, moving on to the team that all of a sudden is just throwing around money. Defensively, this team might be an absolute disaster next year, and that's the San Diego Padres, who signed Xander Bogaerts to an 11-year, $280 million deal,
Yeah.
which likely moves Fernando Tatis to left field, which is crazy. Um,
It,
this deal, when I saw it break, Rob, I mean, this was like, I know they've been throwing around all this money. 11 years, 280 for
11 years for
Bogaerts was
Xander
like,
Bogaerts.
holy cow.
11 years
Like
for Xander
this guy's
Bogaerts.
power is already fading. Like
11 years for Xander Bogaerts. Look, and I get we were just praising the longer contracts, but 11 years for Xander Bogaerts. That's pretty crazy. And like you said, like Machado's gonna be like I don't like the San Diego Padres. I really don't like the San Diego Padres as an organization. Sorry. I think it's just from the NLCS, but like Soto's gonna be out of there would be my guess. Like I think we've discussed that
who
on the
knows though? Maybe they'll throw like 700 million at this guy the way they're going. I
You
mean,
think? I mean, they're willing to spend. We know that, but like,
yeah. I think after this deal, I would say Soto's more likely to re-sign than before, just because they're showing that they're just going to spend like endless amounts of money. And they've shown that before, but it's just like who knows, man? This is crazy. I mean, with Tatis, I mean, they're kind of like they're kind of giving up on him a little bit.
yeah, I mean, at least from a defensive perspective, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that they've just kind of accepted that, like, they'd rather they'd rather move him to left. They'd rather spend 300 million on Xander Bogaerts than move him to left field, right? And move him to left field and have him continue to play shortstop. Look, when Tatis gets back, the Padres will be a force. Their lineup is ridiculous. Like the obviously
Yeah.
They're going to be really good. I think their depth.
Tatis, Soto, Machado, Bogaerts is crazy.
Let's be real. I mean, their depth is is more than questionable. I would say. Like,
Well, they have Hassan Kim. They've got like 20 shortstops. So if one of those guys goes down, they'll be fine.
but like, no, look, I think they're good. I just don't think that they're like as good as any of the NL East teams personally, and I think that they'll still be owned by the Dodgers. Like, I think you're going to see a lot of. I think you're going to see a lot of like familiar San Diego Padres trends from next
Yeah.
year. Like, I understand why they had to get Bogaerts. There's a little bit like they were embarrassed for like a period of 24 hours. It was like, oh, Trey rejected more money from the Padres. Judge rejected more money from the Padres. So I think that they had to like maybe a little. I don't want to say overcompensate, but they did have to spend that. They did have to spend that money somewhere, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I think this was just an overpay at the end of the day. I mean, 280 million, 11 years is just a little much. Good for them though. Like they went out, they got a star. Like they're going to be solid next year. They have a really good lineup. Obviously, the opt outs with Machado potentially opting out and then Soto being a free agent, like those two guys will really, if they leave there, then the Padres are screwed because then it's like, okay, well, now you got Tatis, who is a huge question mark, and then you have Xander Bogaerts, who's going to be like 31 and there for the next 10 years. So, Machado and Soto will be huge question marks. This team is loaded offensively, though. Pitching wise, Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, those guys are going to be back. They've been great. Blake Snell, I think, is back too. He had a bounce back year, so we'll see. I think just looking at this now from a perspective on the Boston Red Sox side, man. I mean, Chaim Bloom, like this guy gets praised, but like this guy's let crazy amounts of stars just leave. I mean, the Mookie Betts deal.
Some stars,
The
dude.
Mookie Betts deal is like
It's one of the
people
worst
don't talk about how bad that trade was.
I think we talked about it. You and I think have talked about it before, but like Alex Verdugo is the main piece for Mookie Betts. That's ridiculous, dude. That's ridiculous.
And I know they were trying to get under like the tax him, but it's just like, what are you doing?
At the end of the day, sorry, I am gonna just say it. Just sounds like you're the Boston Red Sox. You don't try to get under the tax. You're the Boston Red Sox. You play at Fenway Park. Like you don't do that. You don't trade Mookie Betts, and you especially don't trade Mookie Betts to them. Like I'll just refer to them as them, the evil empire in the West. But yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. I mean, they're just being mismanaged. I mean, you hear the I don't want to mispronounce his name, but Yoshida.
Yeah.
You hear the people saying they overpaid by like $50 million on this guy. I mean, he could be very good. We'll see. Obviously, they do sign Kenley Jansen, which is a solid move.
Yeah, I agree.
But
for 11.5,
this team is just like, and like the guy they choose to extend and give money to is Trevor Story. Like Rafael Devers is gone, man. I think he's a foregone. They should just. They're just like.
If Rafi Devers leaves, Fenway Park is getting burned to the ground.
Like it's just like I feel for Red Sox fans because at this point, like ownership's not. I was watching Jared Carabas. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Maybe not, but he's big internet personality, Red Sox guy, and he's just like frustrated with John Henry, like the owner of this team. He's like, he's treating this as one of his like business ventures, and he doesn't really care about the team. Like, it sucks because this team right now, the storied franchise, the Boston Red Sox, like they're just not retaining their guys. They're not spending money. The product on the field, really isn't going to be very good next year, in my opinion. Like, I don't think this team is going to be winning this division by any stretch of the imagination. So I don't know. We'll see. But good get for the Padres and for the Red Sox. Another superstar fades away. Pretty crazy that yeah, he's gone. All right, last deal real quick. This one's not as big to talk about. Well, Wilson Contreras to the Cardinals. I mean, the Cardinals already a really good team. They're just kind of one of those like weird teams that they have all these guys, but then the playoffs they just never get it done.
They win. They're a team that they win 95 games every year, and then like they're just out right. Like they're just out. 3 days in.
I mean, what are your thoughts on this move?
Obviously, look, I think it's a great. Like I think obviously, like only 3 years for Wilson Contreras is he's one of the best catchers in the sport. I like the deal. Obviously, like I know a lot of Cubs fans are really, 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 really not happy about this though. And
Yeah.
there's been a lot of trolling going on from the Cardinals after. So I wonder how Wilson's legacy in Chicago has been affected by this, him
I don't know
signing
if
there.
you
But
can like, I don't know.
yeah, no. I agree with you, Griff. But I don't know if Cubs fans will see it that way. But like,
That's true.
but no, look, I don't really know how it's a lot of money, but I don't really know if I can really speak negatively about this. Like they
Yeah.
needed to consider Yachty. I mean, he was still fine, very good, calling those games, sort of being the game manager out there. But that guy was, I mean, him at the plate, when the when the Phillies were in those high pressure situations versus the Cardinals in that wild card series, and Yachty stepped up to the plate, you almost took a huge sigh of relief as a Phillies fan. Like the guy was just not an MLB hitter anymore.
Yeah. He retired. Yachty's like retired now.
Yeah.
It's like weird. Like he like Pujols had this like whole like retirement tour, and like I feel like Yachty was just like didn't get the recognition maybe that he deserved as one of the all time great catchers. But yeah, good deal for the Cardinals. Obviously, like the Cubs, man. I mean, they don't trade this guy at the deadline, and then they
Yeah,
just let him walk to their division rival. I mean, it's
not
just
good. Not good.
that poorly mismanaged situation. Cubs are a mess, man. I mean, they signed Cody Bellinger to a 1 year deal, but yeah,
I
it's
don't
gonna
even
be
think it was
a
bad
good
for
deal
them.
for Bellinger, but like
I don't even I don't even think it was that bad for the Cubs, but like you got to do something more than that. Like you got to be,
they need something long term. I mean,
yeah,
like Jamison Tyone for 4 years. Like, I don't know, man. Like,
yeah,
we'll see. I think they need to land like a Swanson or a Correa, and I think if they don't, that's a huge, huge disaster in the offseason. But we will see.
yeah.
All right, moving on. Prediction time. I got 9 names we're gonna go with, so not too many, but real quick, we're gonna go through, give our thoughts on the remaining free agents. We're gonna start off with the biggest name left, and that is Carlos Correa, primed to get a over $300 million contract. Seems like the Giants, the Cubs, maybe the Yankees are in on him. Some other teams maybe. What are you thinking? The Twins as well. What are you thinking with Correa?
For a while, I was actually just going to be a contrarian and say that he was going to remain, with the Twins. I just had like a weird feeling, but right now, I'm going to go with the Giants here. They were willing to spend big, as evidenced by Judge. They don't really care, and they look. Carlos Correa is one of the premier players in the sport. He is. He is an unbelievable player, and look, I think a lot of like the loss of like whatever, just the Astros organization. Like I was like, you can't even like say like, oh, like the Astros felt his presence miss next year, of course, because they literally just they just have this another other superstar waiting in the wings who's already a World Series MVP at age 23 or whatever. But like whatever, it's all bullshit with the Houston Astros. I'm still salty, but look, I think Carlos Correa is one of the premier players in the sports. He's going to get a ton of money, and like the Giants, I'm just going to go. I think the Giants feel the need to land a big whale after missing out on Judge. So I'm going to go with Correa to the Giants.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Giants too, honestly. Like I just think that right now they're just gonna like give him just like the biggest deal.
Yeah.
I think they know they need to land one of these guys. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Giants for Carlos Correa. Will be interesting to see what they do because Brandon Crawford is still there, right?
Yes. Hoops.
So and he's a very good defensive
Shows you,
shortstop. So
dude,
it's
it shows you how volatile baseball really is. That like Brandon Crawford came top 5 in MVP voting in 2021.
yeah. But obviously he's not going to be there for much longer. I
No,
mean,
no,
he's
no, no,
in his
no.
upper 30s. So, maybe he'd move to like a DH type role. I don't really know, but he's so good defensively. You want him on the field. I'm sure they'd figure something out. He's a long time guy there. They're not going to disrespect him by any means. So, but yeah, I think the Giants need someone. Why not get one of the best players out there? And Correa, I know most of the market signed, but he was probably top 3 in this market to begin with. So, yeah, I'll go with the Giants as well. Dansby Swanson, another interesting guy. Looks like he might get over $200 million, Rob, the way the market has gone. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. You want to take this one? You want to take this one
I'll
first?
take it. I'll take it. I'm gonna go with the weird one here. I'm gonna go
Okay.
with the Arizona Diamondbacks. They were linked to Xander Bogaerts. I think they reunite with Dansby Swanson. I think they're gonna shell out some money. And I think they're just gonna swoop in and steal him. I don't know. Kind of a weird prediction, but I feel like the Cubs are like the safe prediction, but
Yeah,
feel
I'm
like
gonna.
I feel
Yeah,
like our safe predictions never work.
yeah. I mean, I didn't want to be boring here, but I am going to go with the Chicago Cubs. I mean, they've been linked to him since like literally the day after the season ended. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Cubs. Swanson to the Cubs here. I didn't want to be boring, but sorry, Griff.
Very good. Moving on, Carlos Rodon, the best pitcher on the market. Seems like he's going to get a fat contract. Your thoughts?
I'm gonna go with the New York Yankees here. I think there's been way too much smoke the past 2 days for nothing to be there, and I think that I think yeah, I think they're going to give him a lot of money, and it seems like see Steinbrenner and Cohen seem to be in this little good for Yankees and Mets fans, by the way. That I don't know. I think Steinbrenner and Cohen might be in a little bit of a a small rivalry here. Who's going to be able to spend the most? And obviously Cohen's winning that competition so far.
Yeah,
So I'm
I
going to
don't
go.
think I don't think Hal's going to quite get to. I think
Yeah,
he's still a little scared, but he good for him. I agree though. I've just seen way too much, and I think the Yankees at this point they're going to make another big move, like they have to at this point. And after getting like dominated by the Astros, like if they didn't, it'd just be an embarrassment. So yeah, I'll go with the New York Yankees. I've just heard so much about them and Carlos Rodon from, a lot of sources that are close also. Like we talked about like a guy like Jack Curry. Like this guy
yeah.
like is in the in. Like you hear Yankees fans will like always, mention Jack Curry or show me Jack Curry's Twitter. Like this is the guy that, is almost like the in guy with the Yankees, always seems to know what's going on. So yeah, I think the Yankees will land Rodon at the end of the day. JD Martinez is the next name I have on the list. Kind of interesting, older guy. Still, very good contact hitter. The power's kind of waned a little bit. Your thoughts on where he'll end up?
You want to go? I'm going to let you start take the next couple, Griff, for first.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with a little bit. You go ahead.
Trying to think here.
You know what? I actually do have a prediction. Because it just seems like the most. I'm gonna go with the Los Angeles Dodgers here.
Okay.
Um, I think I actually think for once in our lifetimes, Griff, the Dodgers don't seem too intent on spending a ton of money, which is a little
Yeah.
weird to me. Like it seemed like the trade. It never really seemed like they were that like in for Trea Turner. It never really seemed like they made like that big of an effort to want to get him back. I think they had kind of accepted that he was going to leave. Obviously, a lot of that reason was because he wanted to be on the East Coast. But look, it seemed that there have just been a few indications that the Dodgers aren't going to be willing to spend that much. But I think JD Martinez is sort of like the most Dodger signing imaginable. He'll go over there and be, one of the best players. He'll of course go over there and be one of the best players in the NL all regular season long. So yeah, I'm gonna go with JD Martinez to the Dodgers.
I'm gonna go with the Atlanta Braves. I mean, they've got to sign someone like to replace Dansby Swanson if he does leave. DH for them. I mean, they've got the domestic, DUI man himself, I guess, Marcelo Zuna, but um, I don't really know if he's going to be stopping them from signing
DUI,
JD. So I think
DUI.
a short-term JD Martinez deal where he, refines his MVP self in Atlanta, just as, get the money donated to that charity, man. I mean, I don't know the Braves charity, whatever it is that. Oh my God. I'm sure we'll get a Braves press release soon. But yeah, I'll go JD Martinez to the Braves. Why not? Next name, I got Chris Bassett.
Yeah.
Say he goes to the Baltimore
Yep.
Orioles here, Rob.
Yeah,
I think that
yeah, I think
you're
that's
going with them too.
yeah. I think that's almost obviously he was posting some pictures in Philadelphia
Oh,
last
interesting.
last night, but he obviously said that didn't really mean anything. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with I am gonna go with the Orioles. They really need the pitching. The comments under the Kyle Gibson the Orioles tweet were hilarious. They were like they were like really it was like that's it basically. So yeah, I think that the Orioles need pitching help because I think with legitimate pitching or with competent pitching, like this could be a team that really does sneak into the
Yeah.
sneak into the postseason next year. I mean, Adley is obviously just so unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Orioles. I think this team, I think Bassett for him, as long as they give him the money that he's looking for in the years, which I think they would, he'd be able to be on a team where, he would almost be like the ace in a way.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great opportunity for him. I think it's a good ballpark for him to pitch in as well. I mean, with that huge wall they put up, Chris Bassett, I think, would do very well there. Next name, Kodai Senga. I don't want to mispronounce my future New York Met. That's who I'm predicting. I've just heard so much about this guy in the Mets. I mean, it seems like the fact that I think they're just spending money. And I mean, I've seen clips of Buck Showalter, Billy Epler. They're just gushing about this guy. I mean, it just seems like one of the worst kept secrets that, they're in love with him. And I think they're looking for a 3-starter kind of to replace Chris Bassett. Bassett, I think, still could be in play for the Mets, but I just think his age, the years he's looking for, the money, I think they'd rather go with a upside play with Senga, who obviously hasn't pitched in the MLB before, but with the stuff he possesses, if he pans out, you're looking at 3 aces at the top of that Mets rotation. But obviously, it's a huge gamble. But I'm going to go with the Mets.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the New York Mets here too, as much as I really, really hope it doesn't happen. Like you said, a lot of the times with Major League Baseball, a lot of these teams are really not trying to keep secrets. There's too much smoke. It's almost like with the Carlos Rodon thing, there's too much smoke that's going on there. And look, I hope it doesn't happen. I really, really do. I hope the Dodgers change their mind or something at the last minute and hope and can sweep in and take him. But yeah, I'm gonna go Senga to the Dodgers. Like you said, I'm just gonna echo your reasoning. I think once, it seems as though once big Stevie C up there, once has his sights set on a player, he'll keep upping and up in that price until that player's in that. So yeah,
Yeah. Next name on the list, Andrew Benintendi. This one's an interesting one, to be honest. I don't know. Do you have a team that you think might sign Benintendi?
well, I don't. I was about to be a little redundant here, but no, I don't really. No, they would never actually spend. You go ahead, Griff. I had a team in mind, but I don't really think they'll actually spend any type of money. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Um, this
I
one's a
really.
tough one. I mean, the Yankees are obviously a team that's been interested.
I'll go with the team. I'll go with the team here. I
Okay.
team. All right. I'm gonna go with the Houston Astros here,
Mm.
but I think, I don't know. He was obviously he really was not very good last year once he got to New York at all. He did not work out, but I don't think I think the Astros are the type he'll get into Houston and regain form. So I don't know. I think he need a little outfield depth out there. It's one of the few things they need. But so I'm gonna go with Andrew Benintendi to the Astros.
I'm gonna go with the Texas Rangers.
Okay.
This team just spends money. I feel like the outfield, they could use another guy. I don't think I'm forgetting anyone that plays left field for them, or somewhere in the outfield at least. I know they have Odolis, but he's center field, right?
Yes.
So left field should be, I don't think there's really anyone that's there. So yeah, I think the Rangers make a splash. They've added, 3 starters, including Martin Perez on the qualifying offer. So, go help that lineup a little bit, get Benintendi. So yeah, I'll go with him. Michael Conforto, very interesting name. Next name on my list. What do you think for him?
I feel like Michael Conforto is we talk about him. I feel like we talk about him every year. I don't know.
He's been a free agent, it feels like, for years now.
You want to start this out as a former Met? I think it's only appropriate.
Only appropriate. I really am curious to see the deal he gets, what
Yeah.
the contract is, if it's a 1-year prove it deal, which I feel like
I think
should
that's
be.
what it'll end up being.
In which case, it's a tough one, man. This is another tough
I really
one.
don't have. I don't even have a team in mind.
I think it's just gonna be a team who looks for some production. I mean, he's been linked to a team like the Mariners. No, they're not going to sign. No. I was thinking the Giants, but I don't think they'd sign him because he's just he can only play one position.
Yeah.
Um,
Like this is where it gets tough. Like you have no idea where this type of guy is going to sign, really.
I'm gonna go with the Washington Nationals. Um, Look, this team, they've talked, I think, about getting like some lefty pop in there. I don't think this is a bad deal for them if they go 1 year on Michael Conforto or 2 years even. They have nothing to lose at this point. Their payrolls, it's not the lowest actually because they've got Strasburg and Corbin's contracts on there. So, they've got some money, but I'm going to go with Michael Conforto to the Washington Nationals. Why not?
I'll go with the White Sox here.
I was thinking about them, yeah.
The White Sox here, who obviously like their struggles defensively in the outfield are very well known, especially like very well known. I mean,
I don't think Michael Conforto is going to be fixing that.
no, yeah. I mean, that's kind of why I'm a little skeptical here, but but I think they do need a bat. So I'm gonna go with yeah, I mean, like you said, Conforto is not exactly going to be helping that out, but that's just why I'm a little skeptical.
Oh, I
But
got breaking news live on the show. Kevin Kiermaier to the Toronto Blue Jays.
was he a name on the list? Was he one of the last names on the list, Griff?
He was not one of the last names on the list. I have one more name on the list, and that is Nathan Eovaldi.
All right, but yeah, I'll go with the White Sox here just because they need some any type of help they can get in the outfield.
Yeah, I agree. Last name Nathan Eovaldi. I'm gonna go with the San Francisco Giants. I think they replaced Carlos Rodon
That's exactly.
with Nate Eovaldi.
I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with you there.
All right, so we have, let me think, 1, 2,
We have 2
3,
things to
4,
say.
5 in agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of them are pretty reasonable though.
Yeah. I agree. I think the Bassett one. I think Bassett to the Orioles is almost a foregone conclusion at this point. But
Yeah, so that's not too bad. But there you go. I know we wanted to do a broader free agent predictions, but all these guys freaking signed in the span of 4 days. So
yeah,
it is what it is. But that'll do it for the MLB section of today's episode. So definitely been a very fun time discussing all these deals. We'll as guys like Correa, Swanson, Rodon sign, we'll talk about them in the show. But moving on to the NFL, it was another crazy week of action, and then a Thursday night football game.
yeah. I mean,
That
come
was
on.
absolutely
Sorry. Let's talk about the Thursday night
insane.
game. Let's talk about the Thursday night game here for a second, because
I'm just trying to make sure that this actually screen shares this time. I think
so,
it is. Okay.
let me ask you a question. Why? And Raiders fans have been saying it all year. The Raiders are up 13-3 in the second quarter. And they just start running the ball over and over and over again. I love Josh Jacobs. He's a great player. He averaged 3.5 yards a carry on Thursday night. And look, I am frustrated as a Devontae Adams fantasy owner after he's been going like, man, what a terrible game plan. You don't let the Rams breathe. You keep They were having success throwing the ball in the first quarter and a half, and then they just stopped doing it. Josh McDaniels should not. And look, all credit to Baker. He was really unbelievable. What he did on that last drive was really special, combined with a lot of stupidity from the Raiders. But this is it really was disgraceful from the Las Vegas Raiders, and no one on that coaching staff should have a job.
Yeah, I mean, letting Baker Mayfield run that comeback on you is pretty crazy. I mean, good for Baker, man.
Mayfield have 15 more attempts than Derek Carr.
With these receivers, the number one receiver, Ben Skronik, Northwestern alum. I mean,
an unbelievable catch. He made an unbelievable catch, Griff.
He did. I mean, I mean, look at these names, man. I mean, you would think this team is tanking for Victor Wembanyama. I mean, it's
Look,
what is
that win was huge for the Eagles, though. That was a huge win for the Eagles.
Yeah, it was. No, go ahead.
But look, I've just never seen that bad of a game plan. I was I understood they were up by 13 points, but I was like, are they gonna attempt to throw the ball? Run after run after run after run. It was ridiculous.
I mean, at this point, look, Josh Jacobs, like he's had an incredible year. This guy's a stud. He's breaking down though. I mean, this guy is like
Yeah, it's
got
too
like
much.
4 different injuries. He's getting like 30 carries a game. I mean, this guy is just like having a crazy season, but he's just falling apart at this point. And Derek Carr wasn't good in this game, but like, man, you got to use. They've been using Tay Adams too. That's what's like
Yeah,
frustrating
yeah,
right now.
yeah.
Tay
They have
Adams
to.
he's been like his production, like we talked about it a few weeks ago. Like Tay Adams has been a lot better. I
He's
mean,
been
he's always
yeah.
good, but they've been better in getting him the ball, and like
Wait,
he just
yeah,
didn't get
sorry,
the
sorry,
ball
Griff.
enough.
Griff, I could just go on one point. As soon as they've been getting the ball, they won a bunch of games and they won a bunch of
Yeah,
games in a row. I wonder if those two things are correlated with each other.
yeah. I mean, this was a game for the Raiders. They would have been what 6-7, like right in the hunt,
It
back
was
in it.
yeah. That
And it was against the Rams team that's just terrible. I mean, with Baker Mayfield who barely knows the playbook, and they lose. I mean, this is a horrible loss.
like, I think everybody on the
Their season is over at this point.
Yep.
Now they're done.
Look, they have now
One of
lost
those.
to Jeff Saturday and Baker Mayfield this year.
I mean, look, Baker Mayfield. Like,
No, all
I'm
credit.
happy for him. Like, good for him. Like, the Panthers situation was terrible. I mean, you had Matt Rule as the head coach. You had a terrible offensive line, terrible team, and this team isn't very good. But Sean McVay, like this guy is one of the best head coaches in the NFL for a reason. Like obviously this team has had a disastrous year. They've had injuries left and right. They lost some guys over the offseason, whatever you want to blame. But this win for Baker Mayfield, so impressive. Good for him. And yeah, man, like this Rams team obviously is terrible. They don't have their first round pick, so they're going to try and win every week. I mean, there's no reason not to for them, which I think is a good thing. Like this team right now, if they can just figure some things out, it wouldn't be a bad thing. But it's going to be very interesting to see how Baker does the rest of the way with this disastrous receiving core. But yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. I mean, there were some crazy games last week. We'll kind of talk about it as we go. The 49ers, oh man, we'll talk about them. Vikings, Lions. The Lions actually favored in this game the way bettors have kind of bet. This Detroit team is pretty good, Rob. I mean, Jared
No,
Goff,
I agree.
he's solid, man. Like
Look,
Jared Goff gets a lot of hate, but this guy has done a very good job this year. Minnesota Vikings, though, they're very good. They beat the Jets. I mean, that was an absolutely crazy game last week. Tough loss for the Jets.
I mean, very tough. Like
Yeah.
a lot of just not. They didn't execute well enough in the red zone at all. The New York Jets. And look, I'm gonna be real with you. I think the Minnesota Vikings suck. I really do. They're not. Look, I think they're a well coached team. That's evidenced by 9-0 teams, but they've gone up against two contenders this year, and they've got two NFC contenders, I should say, and they've gotten smashed. And they've gotten smashed twice. Like I understand they beat the Bills, which is one of the luckiest victories you'll ever see in your life, from the Jefferson catch to the Josh Allen fumble. But look, I mean, I think that the Detroit Lions are a really good team, and I'm just going to single out one of the specific player. Amon-Ra St. Brown is unbelievable. This guy is one of the biggest weapons. Like it's unbelievable. Like Jared Goff, I believe, is like in the mid-20s in EPA, which is it's basically like the best way I can explain. I think everybody at this point is pretty familiar with EPA. I think it's sort of like made its way into the mainstream, but it's basically like yards that matter. Like that's the best way I can describe it. But with without Amon-Ra St. Brown on the field, and then he's fourth with Amon-Ra St. Brown on the field. And like you said, I think Jared Goff has actually been pretty solid. Solid to the point where it might allow the Lions to wait for Caleb Williams a little bit if that's what they so choose.
I don't know if they want to run that risk though. We'll see where they end up with their position.
Yeah, no, I agreed. And look, I actually am going to go with the Lions to win this game. If you're asking me to make a prediction here, I think that the Vikings really are not very good. I think they deal with adversity well. I think that they're very well coached. I think Kirk has been good this year, but do I think that they're an elite football team? Do I think that they're as good as the Niners, even without Jimmy G, the Cowboys, or the Eagles? Absolutely not. And I think the Lions really they lost to the Eagles by 3. They lost to the Bills by 3. This is a team that could very well be 7-5, 8-4. Look, they were really poor in close games, but they're 4-1 over their last 5 with a game-losing loss to the Bills and a field goal. This is a good football team that I think is actually playing better than the Minnesota Vikings at the moment.
Yeah, the Lions, they've been playing really well. And, Dan Campbell, I mean, this guy was on the hot seat for a while. I know his clock management and he's had some issues, but like the way people have bought into his scheme and what he does, I think he's earned his job for next year. And this team has been pretty good. I think their system as well. And yeah, but I am going to take the Minnesota Vikings. I do think they're a better team. I think that offense is very elite. I think Justin Jefferson is just one of those players that's just very hard to guard. I mean, the Jets with that great secondary, they contained him well, but still got a touchdown, still had catches in those big moments. So there's only so much you can do to contain this guy. I think he'll have another strong game. And, defensively, they haven't been too bad either. It'll be close as it always is with both these teams, it feels like. So should be a good game. Excited for this one. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Vikings.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be one of those classic NFC North games. But I think that the Vikings generally have benefited from playing they're good. Like they're not a bad team. I don't want to.
They've beaten all 4 AFC East teams, which is a very good division.
It is impressive. It is. Although I think that the Patriots are really questionable.
They are fraudulent, but the rest of the teams are all, in my opinion, very solid teams. And they beat the Mike White Jets, who is very different than the Zach Wilson Jets.
Yeah, we do have to have a little bit of a discussion about the Miami Dolphins after this. But I do think that the Lions. I don't know. I think that the Lions are just playing really well, and I think there's probably a little bit of an Eagles fan wanting a 3-game cushion, and it is a 3-game cushion because we do have the tiebreaker over the Vikings. Any Vikings loss essentially takes them out of the race for the 2 seed, or for the 1 seed, I should say, in the first round bye. So
I think you guys will have the 1 seed. I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Yeah, but look, I'd like to see, and I'm a huge Amon-Ra St. Brown fan, even before he was on my fantasy team. Which I love you, Amon-Ra. You've been eating, my man. You really have. But this guy really is. He's the ultimate security blanket, is how I would describe him.
Yeah, absolutely. Ravens Steelers. This game sucks. I mean, Tyler Huntley is going to be playing. Ravens offense, man. I mean, Lamar, we've been saying it. Like, this guy is just, they have failed him completely as an organization. He has no weapons there, has been having to run essentially every freaking play. They're still 8-4, but, this team's going to get bounced immediately in the playoffs. I mean, we all know that. They have no weapons, no one to throw to. It's just sad. Even as a guy who likes the Browns, it's just this guy just is being wasted right now. I mean, obviously they have a great scheme for him, but he just has no freaking weapons. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
This game is interesting. I mean, the Steelers have been playing well. Kenny Pickett, I don't know if he's been playing well, but he's been getting the job done. They beat up on the bad teams, which is what you're supposed to do. I'm going to go with the Steelers, man, at home. No Lamar Jackson. Tyler Huntley has been solid when he's been in there, but I don't know. There's just no weapons. There's no one to throw to. I just think it's gonna be super low scoring. I just think Pittsburgh's got a better offense right now than the Ravens are gonna have in this game. As crazy as it sounds, honestly, this is gonna be a very low scoring game.
I think somehow unbelievably, Mike Tomlin might be able to keep his streak up, which is unbelievable. I've never had.
I don't think he'll get in the winning season or playoffs.
Winning season.
Look, I don't know. I mean, they're 2 losses away from.
I suppose, but they have the Panthers and the Raiders at home on their remaining schedule.
They play Panthers, Raiders, twice against Ravens and Browns. Yeah, but if they lose 2 games, they're screwed. So
yeah, no, you are correct. I mean, I do think it's been important though that they've actually been able to win some games here. But I just gave them a big hype up speech, and now I'm gonna pick the Ravens anyway because I think Tyler Huntley actually is. They were struggling last week, but I actually do think Tyler Huntley is among the more confident backups in the NFL as he proved last year. And yeah, I mean, I think that the Ravens are going to have to take a very serious look at themselves in the mirror after this season, because it's been the same thing that the Ravens always are. They're a good team. They have a solid defense, but they failed Lamar Jackson. I think the fact that they're refusing to pay Lamar, who's been the one force that's kept them relevant over these years, is I think the ultimate cherry on top. You said it before the year. You were really hammering this point down that Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews, despite how good Mark Andrews is, were not going to be enough. And you were right. I mean, it's year after year after year that they failed Lamar Jackson, who is one of the premier talents in the National Football League. And yeah, I mean, it's sad, but I think Lamar. I don't think you're going to see Lamar in a Ravens uniform very soon.
Yeah, like honestly, yeah, he's got to be fed up at this point, man. Like they haven't paid him, and then they've given him this situation, which is just a disaster. Like you look at all these superstar teams, like they have like
Like,
weapons. Like the only
how about the
team,
Bills?
like
How about the Bills and the Eagles? What did they do to help their young quarterbacks? They traded for a wide receiver one. Instead, the Ravens traded their wide receiver one away.
yeah, and like Hollywood Brown is like he's been showing out. Like he's been a solid player these last 2 years. Like he's probably not a wide receiver one, but like a real target to throw. I don't know, man. It's just sad. I feel for Lamar. Um, yeah, I mean this team. I'll be honest, they suck. Like they might have 8 wins, but like this is a team that they're gonna get bounced immediately in the freaking playoffs.
Yep, I agree.
Browns Bengals, interesting game. I mean the Bengals are just so hot. Big win against the Chiefs. They just have Pat Mahomes' number, as crazy as it is.
Yeah,
They just can't beat him, and no excuses anymore. We kind of had some excuses about the Chiefs' performances last year. At this point, like it's nothing to say. I mean, the Bengals just own them 3 times. You beat them. I mean, there's that. Um, this is a crazy prediction, but I'm going to pick the Cleveland Browns here.
oh my goodness.
I don't know.
No, they beat them 5 times
This
in a
is
row,
no
I
Rob.
believe,
This
right?
is like this team just like owns the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, it's so weird. I mean, Deshaun Watson was terrible last week. I mean, this guy right now. I mean, he's bad. Like he's not a bad player, but like, holy cow, that was bad last week. Like there's nothing there. But Kevin Stefanski, if he's figured one thing out, it's how to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Um, I, you know, I think it'll be an interesting game, but I don't know, man. It's just weird. Like the Browns just like have the Bengals number, as good as a team as the Bengals are. So we'll see. Maybe Cleveland can climb up. Looking at their remaining schedule, Bengals, Ravens, Saints, Commanders, Steelers. So it's not the worst in the world, especially if Lamar doesn't play next week. Um, there's a path potentially. I'm not saying I don't think they'll be in the playoffs whatsoever, but this is the key week for them. If they win this one, then you can maybe start dreaming about it. But yeah, why not? I'm gonna go with the Browns. I think we'll see Deshaun a little more comfortable this week. I just think, he kind of had to get some of that rust out. I don't think he's going to be on that level that they expect, but I think I don't think he could be much worse than last week. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Cincinnati Bengals here. I do appreciate the optimism, and I do understand that the Browns really have been the owner of the Bengals over the past couple of years, but I think that the Bengals have really separated themselves among the teams in the AFC. I am gonna show a little Miami Dolphins disrespect here. I'm gonna say that they're really two. I think there's really like an upper echelon of teams in the AFC, and that is the Bills, Chiefs, and Bengals. Um, I think Joe Burrow is even better than he was last year. I think that this guy's just been getting better and better and better every single year, which is so scary for teams around the league because he was already a very good quarterback last year. But yeah, I think the Bengals, like, they're so solid defensively on all 3 levels. And I think that's so underappreciated. Like they might not have a star. Look, Trey Hendrickson's a really good player, but they're just really solid defensively at all 3 levels. They really don't have a lot of weaknesses, which is huge. And that receiving core is just next level. I mean, T. Higgins and Jamar and Tyler Boyd, although he dropped one of the easiest touchdown passes you'll ever see last week, is still a really, really good wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go with the Cincinnati Bengals here. I think that they're hot. I think that they're gonna roll. I think they'll start to separate themselves from the Ravens at some point here in that AFC North race. And after a shaky start in which we were really coming after their necks, saying oh, this is their one shot. Like this team looks like they're going to be really solid for a long time to come. And I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, Cincinnati Bengals here.
Absolutely. The Bengals are a very, very good team. Should be fun to see. Jets, Bills. It's going to be an interesting game. I just want to say, like, the Bills, like, I don't, this Bills hype is still going. Like, I saw some
Yeah, it's
post the other
wild. It
day from
really is.
like,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I think it is either ESPN or NFL Network, and like they were like polling like best team in the NFL, and both answers were the Buffalo Bills. I was just like, what? Like, this is crazy. Like, we're
I
still
mean,
doing this. Like, before the season, it was this like I've never seen one team unquestionably be crowned Super
Right,
Bowl
or
champs before
how
this
about,
season.
how about, like, the fact, like, and to me, like, that's a sign of, like, Chiefs and Mahomes disrespect for me, who have beaten them every single freaking year in the
Yeah,
postseason.
and
But,
we'll probably do it again this year.
yeah.
I don't know, man. Like the Bills are the hype. I mean, look, this is a good team. Don't get me wrong, but like we're still
Right.
saying this is like the unquestionable best team. Like, come
Yeah,
on,
no,
like
I think that there are 2 teams definitively better than them, and one might be by that, like,
no,
I
the
would say
Eagles and the Bills are definitely,
I
or
would
the
s
Eagles and the Chiefs are better for
I
sure.
would say, like, the Cowboys too are in that, have
Yeah,
inserted themselves into that category, but, like,
Cowboys are really freaking good.
yeah, no, I was gonna say I wasn't even gonna respect the Chiefs that much, but, like, the Cowboys, I think, are really, we'll talk about them in a second, but, like you said, I can't agree with this enough, like, to me, like, I get how important Josh Allen, but what has Josh Allen done to separate himself from Jalen Hurts this year? He turns the ball over way more than Jalen Hurts, or, like, not even Jalen Hurts, but even a guy like Mahomes has been infinitely better than him this year. I think Joe Burrow has been better than him this year. Like, there was, like, this whole movement to anoint Allen the MVP and give the Bills a Super Bowl before the year even started. And it's really continuing. I don't get it. I think they're an excellent football team. I do, but I don't see it with them. I think that they make way too many mistakes. I think they turn the ball over way, way, way too much. Um, yeah, and at the end of the day, like, I'll say this, and to credit, this is really a credit to Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. There's not a lot of talent on that offense outside of Allen and Diggs. Gabe Davis had a great AFC, he had a great playoff game last year. The guy's not a wide receiver two in the NFL.
No,
He's not. To compare him to even a Michael Gallup or a Devontae Smith it's not that you're lacking if you're a Buffalo Bill, like, if you're a Buffalo Bills fan. Like, look,
I
they're,
actually think like Isaiah McKenzie's like been more valuable to
yeah,
them at wide
right. I mean, he
receiver.
had 4 catches. Yeah, I mean, he's on the he got picked up a couple weeks ago to the fantasy team. So I'm in agreement with you there. But yeah, look, and Von Miller's out for the year now, which is huge
Yeah,
for them. That being said, I am going to predict a Bills victory this weekend, but I do think that I agree with you upon this. But, like, look, I think the New York Jets are a really good team. I still think that they're going to make the playoffs, even if they lose this week. I think Mike White has been really, really solid. I think Robert Saleh is an unbelievable coach, and like you said, that secondary and that defense as a whole is just scary. It is. I mean, Sauce Gardner, Quentin Williams, like, those guys can those dudes can just ball at the end of the day. And
yeah.
uh, like, the New York Jets are a really good football team, but it is tough to go. It is tough to go into Buffalo and win, especially a divisional games. So I am going to pick the Buffalo Bills here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bills here too. Yeah, it's just tough to go into Buffalo and win this game. I think it'll be close. Garrett Wilson, man, Garrett Wilson's a superstar, and
Yeah, Jay Wilson.
you know,
Yeah,
I could have told you, you know, he was my top receiver coming out of, you know, the draft class last year. He's special. Like he's the next, you know, I don't know if he'll get to the Jamar Jefferson level where those guys are like just crazy, but like he's gonna be right there with them. I mean, this guy's a superstar. If he gets like a legit QB, like we've seen with Mike White these last 2 weeks, like holy cow, like this kid is crazy. Um, yeah, I just think Buffalo, just at Buffalo, it's just a tough place to play. So I'm gonna go with the Buffalo Bills here, but I think it'll be close. And man, Robert Saleh's defense, you know, you can never keep the Jets out of any game because of that defense. So we will see. Should be a very good game. This next game, obviously, we'll both be picking the Cowboys here. I mean, just talk to me about, you know, this Dallas team, the way they're playing
yeah,
offensively. They've been really freaking good.
I think,
Defensively,
yeah,
they're incredible. Your thoughts?
yeah. Defensively, I think this team is by far the best defensive team in the NFL, and it's not even close. I mean, Dan Quinn is just a beast of a coach. I mean, he really turned them from, like, one of the worst units in the NFL to one of the best, and obviously that was helped by number 11. I mean, that guy's just a total monster, despite his despite, some of his questionable actions at Penn State. But I always have to bring them up because I'm an Eagles fan. But, like, how. Oh, sorry, that's actually our friend James Siegel texting me about Penn State basketball. But sorry, let me do not disturb real quick, Griff. Let me do not
You're
disturb.
good.
That's my fault.
You're
Uh,
good.
my fault, everybody. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Dallas Cowboys here. I think their defense is really special, but you know, I am a little concerned about Dak Prescott, Griffin. I mean, the guy really hasn't looked all that great. Their running game, they've sort of, I think, finally found this perfect balance between Zeke and Pollard after all these years, where, like, that those dudes are just, that two-headed monster is just insane. Cowboys are one of the best teams in the league. They are. There are no two ways about it. Like, These guys are elite. They're I dare I say a Mike McCarthy team looks like they're coached well. They have a lot of depth. Like CD is sort of coming into his own, but like I think there are a lot of question marks around the quarterback. I do.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, he's played well, but yeah, there's been times where he's turned over the ball in big spots, and he hasn't had that big playoff moment. So obviously the jury's. I mean, I wouldn't say the jury's still out. Dak
That's
Prescott's a
still
very
out,
good
but
quarterback, but we'll see. But yeah, this Dallas team is always going to be in a game. Them and Philly are the top two teams. I guess you got to say probably in the NFC, but those 49ers, even with Brock Purdy, can never be counted out. So
for sure.
we'll see. I mean, this is another game that's going to be a blowout.
Yeah.
The Giants pulled the tie last week against Commanders, and what would turn into be a mess of a game at the end. But yeah, the Eagles are going to probably, beat up the Giants. Who, at this point with Odell, like I don't know what the deal is with Odell. I mean, it seems like they're the only team that still might consider signing him.
I think I think the funny part is like it turns out that Odell was actually too hurt to play all along, which is like what the hell
Yeah,
is that all about? Like I don't know, but I guess if I was in his position, I would be like wanting to like be like courted around the country by my friends, sitting at like the nicest restaurants and
yeah,
courtside at basketball games. I think I would want to do it, be wanting to do that too. But like you said, like it seems like you see all this like Odell and Saquon have unfinished business. Like he was saying that. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, I'm gonna go with the Eagles here. I was a little nervous about this game until I found, until it turns out that Xavier McKinney and Adoree Jackson are gonna be out. I think that this Eagles team is gonna feast. And like I am just so impressed with Jalen Hurts because I was a Jalen Hurts skeptic. I
yeah.
wasn't
Very
I
skeptical.
I really wasn't. I thought that we were gonna end up drafting a quarterback after this year. I even at one point embarrassingly advocated for Russell Wilson to the Eagles, which just would have been such a disaster. But yeah, like
Imagine.
Jalen Hurts is
Oh
like
my God.
obvious. Yeah,
That would have been the
dude. But yeah,
greatest like heist ever. I mean, I don't know what Hackett would have done, but like Hurts and like first to the fucking Broncos.
yeah,
Excuse my language,
yeah.
but like holy cow.
To the Seahawks it would have been, but yeah,
Oh, right. Sorry. That's true.
no,
So,
no,
oh my God. Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah. So like, that's a whole domino effect because then you never see Gino. Like, it's so weird to think about, but like,
Yeah.
um, yeah. Look, the Eagles have just been Jalen Hurts, obviously back to back NFC Offensive Player of the Week awards. The guy can beat you through the ground or through the air. I mean, he put on a dominant passing performance against the Titans last week, and then it's helped by the fact that he does have. The Eagles do have the best offensive line in the NFL. I mean, especially when it
Yeah.
comes to protect quarter, like I think by like a not insignificant margin either. But I think like this team can run the ball at will. They can throw the ball at will. I am a little concerned by how passive they are at times, but that victory last week was just resounding, and I think it really was a statement when after a couple of maybe sputtering weeks that this team had really become had really just they're into form, and I think that it's gonna be a not close game this weekend in New York. I think you're gonna
Yeah.
see a lot of Eagles. I think you're gonna see a lot of Eagles fans in New York this weekend.
Yeah. I think you covered it pretty well. I don't really have too much more to say than that. Jags Titans. Titans fire John Robinson after AJ Brown goes crazy on him. Pretty funny. Mike Vrabel seems to be, he's really going to be in charge now in that
Yeah,
Titans organization, as he should.
he should be.
Um, Titans have been, they got killed last week. They haven't been playing the best ball, but you know, Derrick Henry against the AFC South always seems to be, and he's due at this
Guaranteed.
point too. So
It's a guaranteed
yeah,
200 yards for Derrick Henry against an AFC South and an AFC South.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm gonna go
and
here as well.
yeah, I'm gonna go with the Titans. I mean, he's just dude. This team also like they don't really go on big losing streaks,
No,
so
they don't. They
um,
don't.
they'll bounce back this week. I don't really have more to say than that. Chiefs Broncos. I mean, obviously this is a a Chiefs. I don't know. I mean, the Broncos defense is good. I don't know if it'll be. I mean, it'll probably be a 20
It'll
plus
probably be
point
cool.
win,
Yeah,
but it could be close. I mean,
the
Chiefs
Broncos
have kind of
defense.
had some. Chiefs have had some sketchy games recently.
No, they haven't. Look, like the Broncos defense is like,
Really
which
good.
makes you the rusher. Like the Broncos defense is like an elite like it is. Like there are no boat. Like that's an elite defense that they're
Yeah.
putting out every week, even after like Bradley jumps first. But like, yeah, like I the Kansas City Chiefs. Look, the Bengals have their number. There are no two ways. But like this team, like you said, had some sketchy games, but I still, believe in the elite. I'll never doubt the eliteness of Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce together. And Travis Kelce, obviously, he said he cost them the game last week on that. I do love. I mean, we've shouted out before, but the Kelce
That's
brothers,
an incredible podcast.
yeah,
Yeah,
the Kelce,
it's incredible.
yeah, and the Hurts and Mahomes just on and Patrick Mahomes actually really does have like a great personality. Like you never like he a lot of
Yeah.
times obviously gets criticized for like the off field actions of like his brother and his wife, especially, interacting with fans. But like
Which is like, I mean, the brother's one thing. The wife is like, I think a little, a little out of control. But
yeah, no, I do
yeah,
agree. I definitely agree. But like Patrick Mahomes, you would never like guess those like two things like tying to each other because that Patrick Mahomes it seems like a great guy, but like Travis Kelce obviously owned up to costing them a game. I have a feeling that they're gonna take out a lot of their anger on the Denver Broncos this weekend. So I am gonna go with the
yeah.
Kelce.
Let me see. I feel like what was this team's recent games? So the loss, Rams, like they didn't play their best game.
No, they don't.
Chargers was always really close.
They always play a lot of close games. This team, though, they always play a lot
Yeah,
of close
they
games.
do. Oh my
This
God,
is,
the
I mean,
Texans. Oh my God,
yeah, like they're gonna win out. I think
yeah,
so.
probably. Panthers, Seahawks. Sam Darnold, man, he showed
Yeah,
some flashes. I mean, good for him. Um, I feel for the guy. I really do.
Baker and Sam like it's like your ex-wives from a past life, Griffin.
Literally. Seattle, they've kind of been taking a downturn a little bit. Um, Gino, he's still playing well. I'm going to give them this win. Obviously, I think the Panthers suck. Um, yeah, I don't really have too much to say. Kenneth Walker, I think is a game time decision, so that could be big. But like, he's also slowed down a little bit. Like he hadn't really been rushing for like as many yards per game in the last 3-4 games. So he's a great player. I'm not going to discount that, but I feel like there's been a little bit of too much hype on him when I feel like, I don't know. I'm going to go with the Seahawks at the end of the day. Geno Smith with these weapons has just been incredible. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Seahawks here. Like, dude, like whatever like of the Seahawks struggles like that they've had have not been related to Geno. Like
No.
he hasn't faded at all. I was expecting him to regress a little bit. Like this guy has been a top 5 quarterback in football this year. He has like top 7, I'll say. Top 7. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go over the board, but like top 7, I'll say. But like this guy really has been elite. Like he's earned himself a lot of money. There's not much more to be said about Geno Smith. He hasn't regressed. He's been great all year. But I do want to give a quick shout out to somebody we haven't talked on the podcast who we really should have and that's Tariq Woolen, who's been fourth round rookie, been one of the best corners in the sport. I mean, him and Sauce have been holding it down in the NFC and the AFC for those rookies respectively. Like Tariq Woolen has been a monster back there. And I'm gonna go with the Seattle Seahawks. And all of a sudden, the Seattle Seahawks are 8-5, Griffin, if they win this game. And they're right there for that division. They are right.
Yeah. They got a tough path of 49ers, Chiefs, Jets after that. And then obviously you got the Rams.
That Thursday night game is monumental.
In Seattle, though, which is huge, especially
huge.
with Brock Purdy.
I do believe the Seahawks have a path to winning this division. So we'll see how it is.
Bucks, 49ers. This Tampa Bay team is a mess, man. I mean, they obviously had the big comeback last week against New Orleans, but oh my God, I mean, it's just like an inability to score. It's just almost it's really weird, to be honest. Like, I don't really understand why they're so bad offensively. Brady's definitely regressed, but he's not bad
awful
by any
I don't think
means.
he's
Yeah,
awful.
exactly. It's kind of weird. I mean, Godwin and Mike Evans have been there. It's strange, but
It's a
San
lot of
Fran,
bad
man.
team. It's a
I
lot
just
of
want to talk about San Fran.
yeah.
This team is just incredible. I mean, it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. I think with this team, like we saw last week, like that Miami team. Like I know whenever we predict their game, they're playing this week, right? Or are they on bye?
I think they're on a bye. Actually, no. They are playing.
No, they're playing. They should be playing.
They're playing.
Yeah, we're gonna get to them next. But like this team is still the Dolphins to me are still one of the better teams in the AFC offensively. Mike McDaniel, like I will never doubt that guy. Like, and you see the clip of him. I think that was from this week where he was like, "Oh, like I fucked up. Like that was on me or something." Regard. And they came out, man, right away, 75-yard touchdown. I was like, "Holy crap!" Like that was crazy. But the Niners, man, this defense is just crazy. It is so good offensively. It was CMC. Debo. I mean, to me, like, this team is going to figure something out. And I think Brock Purdy was solid last week. This is a tough test. I mean, you see, Brady doesn't really lose to rookies, but like the way this Bucks team has been playing, I'm picking the 49ers in this game. I just think they have like Kyle Shanahan, like with Debo, McCaffrey, like he'll find ways to score. The Bucks, I think, are going to struggle with this Niners defense. I mean, they've been struggling recently offensively. They haven't been putting points on the board, and I don't think that's going to start at San Francisco against this incredible defense. So I'm going to go with San Francisco with Brock Purdy. Such a tough loss, though. I mean, losing Jimmy G, like he's just the guy you want in there. He just knows the system, just so efficient at times. It sucks for them, but maybe he can come back, but Shanahan really didn't seem too optimistic about it.
Yeah, I think that 7-8 weeks was sort of just to, like, maybe throw some teams off. But
yeah,
I'm gonna go with the Niners here as well. The Buccaneers are terrible. They're terribly coached. The Leftwich Bulls experiment is not working out, and I think that they might both be gone after this year because it kind of seems like, although Bulls is the head coach, it kind of seems like they're like almost co-head coaches in a sense.
Is he running the defense though, Todd Bowles? Still,
I believe so.
The defense has still been really freaking good.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I think they make a lot of questionable decisions back there. But like, I don't know, like the Bucks are a weird team because they'll make the playoffs, and like you always have to worry about Tom Brady in the playoffs. But like, they're bad. They are bad.
It's like it's one of those teams where you just like can't really you can't really figure out why they've been like so bad though. Like
this is a big week for them. This is a really, really big week for them. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to go well, and I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers here as well. Mr. Irrelevant did his job last week. He only turned the ball over one time. I mean, look, I mean, look, Brock Purdy. If Brock Purdy is competent, that will be enough for the Niners. He doesn't even have to be good. He has to be competent. He has to not be a turnover machine. That will be enough for the Niners to get where I think make a deep playoff run. I'm gonna look. They looked really good last week. I think that Santa Monica is turning into somewhat of like not Santa Monica. Where do they play?
Santa Barbara or no?
Santa Barbara, maybe.
No. I'll look it up.
All right, but wherever it's turning into a little bit of a home fortress out there, dude. Like they don't lose many.
Their fans are tough, man.
Yeah, they don't lose many home games.
Santa Clara.
Sorry, that Levi Stadium. I know that. Or is that the Levi Stadium?
Look. Levi Stadium, yeah.
It is. It's a tough place to play. And I'm gonna go with the Niners here. Like I said, I just think that the Bucks are a really bad team, and their season might have been over had they lost that Saints game. And I'm glad they didn't because the Saints are just really. I mean, the Saints are. I think that outside of the Texans, they have a case for worst team in the NFL. So I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bucks here.
Yeah, Dennis Allen needs to be fired. They need to just strip that team down. I mean, they need to just start from scratch essentially.
Who has their first round pick this year, Griffin? The 11-1 Philadelphia Eagles.
That's crazy. I mean, all these like good teams have like these like top picks right now. Right? Crazy. I feel like there's something I was. Oh yeah, Falcons are on bye, but they did finally announce that Desmond Ridder will be the starting quarterback. So
which is huge.
Should be very interesting. Should be very interesting. Final 4 weeks.
Should have been done 3 weeks ago because Griff. I'm just a note about the Falcons. 2 weeks ago, the Atlanta Falcons had a 45% chance to make the playoffs, and now it's down to 6%. They waited too long to make the decision. I don't get it. Like I actually like Arthur Smith as a coach. I don't think he's done a bad job down there. I don't get why. I don't get why Desmond Ridder hasn't been starting the whole year.
Yeah, it's really unclear, and I don't know, but that's it at the end of the day. So moving on, Dolphins, Chargers. Chargers are a mess right now.
Well, the sad part for the Chargers is that this is a Dolphins home game, unfortunately. As is everyone in there.
Probably.
No, as
you
is
always
are
they hard these days? The Dolphins fans?
Yeah, no, not even just Dolphins fans, but like I feel like it's just sad for I just feel bad for Jay Harborough that he never gets to have a home game. But I'm gonna if you want me to start out, I'm gonna go with the Dolphins here. Like I still think that they're a really good team. I'm a big Waddle fan. I'm a big Tyreek Hill fan on the field, of course, so what Tyreek Hill does. But but I am gonna go with I love Mike McDaniel. I do. I just think I don't know. I don't know if the Dolphins can play with the big boys yet. That's just my concern about them. They got blown out last week by Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
So and Brock Purdy, like I said, was confident, but like a lot of that is like, did the Dolphins make him look confident, or was he just, is it just the Shanahan? But I think the Dolphins are really good. I do, but and I'm gonna pick them to win this week. But I don't know if they're as good as those top three teams in the AFC I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Dolphins here as well. They're
Griff,
just so good.
a lot of similar predictions this week. You know what that means.
Oh yeah. Well, we started off with three different ones, and then every single one since has been the same. But like a lot of them are just, I don't know, man. Like a lot of them I feel like are likely, but Chargers are banged up. Derwin James is out. Bryce Callahan's out. Like Dolphins should throw the ball like however they want, wherever they want to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So to me, this is like kind of cut and dry and pretty chalked up to me. So I don't know. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. Last game of the week. I can't believe the Cardinals are 4-8. That's like bad. I didn't know they like. Honestly, I feel like they haven't been that bad, but holy cow! Cliff Kingsbury's getting fired at the end of the day. Like
Griffin, how long have I advocated? I said at the beginning of the year, Cliff Kingsbury is my.
You said it for I think since you joined the podcast.
Yeah,
Cliff Kingsbury should be fired. It's honestly like it's just because at this point they've committed so much to Kyler that like Kyler freaking hates this guy. Like Kyler's done. Like he's like I mentioned it last week, but he is like schematically we were kind of fucked. Like that shit is like crazy, bro. Like who was saying that about like their head coach basically? Yeah, I mean these two teams are honestly I'm gonna pick the Patriots. Like this is just one of those games that like Bill Belichick and co. They just get the troops in and they go. Even though the Cardinals like offensively they have the weapons right now. Like James Conner, D Hop, Marquise Brown, I think are all playing. I know D Hop might have missed some practice earlier. I don't know. This team's kind of a mess, but yeah, I'm gonna pick the Pats here. They've been playing pretty solid recently. Like honestly, like that game against we talked about it, the Thanksgiving game against the Vikings. I mean, they were right in it. Mac Jones had one of the best games of his career, so I'm gonna go New England. Why not?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with New England here. I actually am not as down on New England as a lot of other people, although they're just like mediocre. Like I don't think they're like a bad team, but where the Cardinals are truly awful. Like they're a truly awful team. They don't do a lot well, to be honest with you. Their offense being as bad as it is, with the weapons that they have is really, really not a good look for Cliff Kingsbury. And like I said, like this guy went 31-35 at Texas Tech. He doesn't know how to coach an NFL team, doesn't have the respect of his locker room. It's been known. There have been leaks for years about how the Cardinals locker room doesn't love Cliff Kingsbury. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. I never got the hire at the time. He wasn't good at Texas Tech. Look, I get he was Mahomes' coach. I get he was Baker Mayfield's coach. And especially, when Baker Mayfield was more of a value commodity that was, brought up as an argument. But like, guy hasn't been good in the NFL. He had 7 fraudulent weeks with the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
And they've been bad. He's been bad since. So, yeah, I mean, Patriots there, and I think the end is near for Mr. Cliff.
Yeah, it would seem that way. I think it's pretty safe to say he'll get fired. Just the way things have gone. So yeah, that will kind of do it for this episode of Outside the Arena. World Cup still going strong. Some fun matches.
Morocco.
Portugal is out. Ronaldo off the bench could not get it done. So big win for Argentina yesterday.
Yeah, what a game.
Also for Croatia. So gonna be a fun stretch of play here towards the end. But yeah, that'll do it for this week's episode of Outside the Arena. Make sure to stay tuned for more episodes, more weekly episodes. Hopefully we'll get some guests on in this next month. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Check the link in bio, or not link in bio, link down below for our Instagrams, podcast Instagram. Also check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Give us a follow there. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you all next week.